Deborah Archer is professor at NYU School of Law, co-faculty director of the NYU Center on Race, Inequality, and the Law. Thank you for joining us. What context do you think is important as we learn more and more about these individuals?
So first, you were mentioning the impeachment trial, and I think what ties a lot of what we're seeing today together is the importance of truth-seeking and accountability, the importance of defending who we are as a nation, or at least who we hold ourselves out to be, and investigating and possibly censuring Senators Hawley and Cruz, impeaching Donald Trump, holding members or veterans of the military or law enforcement accountable. These are all important, not because we want to punish people or not because we want to be partisan or don't want think that there's important work that needs to be done. It's important to name that what happened was wrong. People died and so many others' lives were at risk. Our democracy was threatened, and some would say barely held. We just say as a nation that that's wrong, and calls for unity that don't acknowledge that wrong really are hollow. In terms of the military involvement that you mentioned, this is a problem not just with the military, but with police departments, as police departments around the country also are finding out today that their officers were also involved. These are both organizations, people who took an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect all citizens. And if we start with the military, the potential threat posed by white supremacists trained by our military really can't be overstated or ignored. We already know how deadly this can be. Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh was not just an avowed white power advocate, he was also a decorated Gulf War veteran. Extremist ideology and military know-how are really a devastating and fatal combination. In addition to the individuals who are in the military, as I just said, it is worth highlighting the number of people who were off-duty police officers. We should be alarmed about that as well, and it feeds directly into the ongoing conversations we're having around the disproportionate policing of Black and brown communities. In 2006, the FBI issued a bulletin warning of white supremacists infiltrating law enforcement and outlining the really horrific consequences, such as access to weapons, military-grade weapons, and training, and really kind of this incredible deference and authority that they have in communities of color. Racial disparities.
Well, Professor, let me jump into one other point because I have a minute left with you. And we could use a whole class, quite candidly. But we are hearing about the evidence of police-on-police crime, off-duty police officers attacking other police officers. That, I think, needs to be understood. And then Americans, as the second point you were getting to, must understand that if not for how much this spun out of control, many people would be less aware of the fact that most of those folks were going to go home, put the police uniform back on. And the question for these police communities is, how is that fair? I give you, obviously, 1 minute to start the answer. We'll bring you back again.
Yeah, I think those folks who were arguing and fighting for the rights of police officers have been a little bit silent here today. As you said, we saw police officer on police officer crime. But as I was mentioning, racial disparities pervade all of policing. The magnitude and depth of this inequality makes clear that this is a systemic problem. But the growing threat of white supremacy in law enforcement shows that it's a problem that's exacerbated by both institutional but also individual bias. And there's a lot of work for us to do to address that.